In what ways does my media product use, develop, or challenge particular forms and conventions of real media products? We'll start with, as theatrical trailers are tricky and keep the professionalism and the whole code as it goes, I decided to keep the basis of my trailer quite similar to that of the particular genre I wanted, such as Kick-Ass and Super. But I did also have some other influences, such as from Drive. So I did keep with particular real, with the whole, the whole narrative and the whole action element and which scenes are being specifically chosen throughout a trailer, from the forms and conventions for my own trailer. I did develop on the particular forms and conventions because most films today, most mainstream films particularly, are almost just quite the usual thing now. You seem to get quite a lot of the same old. So I decided to develop on this. That it's been seen quite recently, I suppose, Memento, Matrix, and this seems to indulge audiences. They seem to like this whole idea, the whole spin on things, and the whole different view on reality. So I decided to sort of develop this view and take it into and take a light-hearted subject, superheroes, and take a massive spin on it and involve money. So play the whole income, the economy, currently where it stands, the recession. I thought it was quite a nice idea. And so what I decided with that is, with the plot, is that your perception completely changes. Even throughout the trailer, you don't know what to think. And this is quite similar to that of Memento, where you're not sure what exactly is happening, and you're not exactly sure of the character you see, the protagonist. So you're sort of left with a sort of biased view of everything. I worked with that in my own trailer. I took that from Memento, developed on it, challenged it a bit, put it in a new setting. Also worked on Todorov's theory of narrative by making an anachronic narrative, which basically means it starts... I decided to work on the perspective from the suit and the protagonist. What? No, I haven't. Oh, Dad, actually. Also included a lot of action throughout and left it on with a cliffhanger that I suggested with the bag there's a bomb and the protagonist himself is the antagonist. So the audience are led on to believe what's going to happen. Especially with the use of the voiceover, everything's going to go boom. So I developed on the whole play that with a trailer you can also create a cliffhanger, particular to that of TV series and episodes, and that of film endings actually, and that's not even the film ending. Again, with this perception of characters, I think they've also worked on props theory, that you got the particular characters, the hero, villain, the princess, and the protagonist is essentially the villain, so protagonist is the antagonist. So it's that of Run Lola Run, Memento. You find out that you're actually, the person you're watching is actually the sort of the bad guy, that you don't realise it, and your perception changes of them. Even though you sort of feel for them, you sort of realise what is bad, and that's what I've done with my trailer. I worked on creating the two different narratives from the suit and the character himself, and you can see it's redundant, which I used a lot of shots. I used a lot of backstory from the exposition compared to that of the slight horror of it, with the dark low-key lighting I've used, a lot of particular mise-en-scène, such as props of knives, and the suggestion that he has a bomb. Again, I guess going into this, I challenged the binary opposition with the good and evil, that you see this is this whole thing throughout. You see a lot in superhero films, it's in Kick-Ass as the bad and the good, also in the Super, the bad and the good. But here, this is a completely different superhero film, because I worked on just having the good and evil together that's been contrasted. That the character you're watching, the superhero, which you're always led to believe that these characters, these stereotypes almost of superheroes, are always the good guy and they're always for morals. That instead, this superhero is completely driven by himself. I also use particular scenes and particular conventions would be in trailers, that the usual thing you might see, the beginning and the ending, the slight action. I copied the action, the montage sequence from The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises trailer. The beginning from my sequence actually, which led up quite high expectations and quite ambiguous character of the suit that people seem to be scared of and run away from, is taken actually from Drive.
If I drive for you, you give me a time and a place. I give you a 5-minute window.
Looking for a friend for the end of the world, which starts off this weird, it says a weird expedition. It draws you in with just the use of camera shots and the use of the backstory. I also developed on the mise-en-scène of particular trailers. I used knives. I made sure it was very specific. I used particular locations that associated from landmarks in particular, such I used the Gherkin and high skyscrapers to suggest a business area. I also sort of used particular music particular music, I think it worked quite well. That from The Dark Knight, but I also developed on this by mixing up the tracks and making different sounds throughout. That it creates different moods. When The Dark Knight seems to keep on the same climatic feel throughout. I just wanted to work on this and this whole use. I think definitely a main thing I've challenged is shot types and just the use of the way I've used the camera. I've tried to create a particular sense of diegesis with their intertextuality, a lot with the shots on the TVs coming out, that I use a transition there, a quick additive dissolve on Premiere Pro that you sort of comes straight out and you're led into the different wells. That I was trying to create a very great sense of verisimilitude. I also used mirrors as well to capture particular shots in the camera. There's a whole reflection of the character himself. I also worked on the transitions of being eyeline match, which I think was quite different from the usual trailer. That you can see the dad looking at the post and suddenly his eyes and suddenly him turning round. It's very quick and it suggests a lot of emotion going on. That a lot's just happened in a quick few seconds and that the audience is watching from the first person view. Almost, so it's just a quick